Hi, I'm Amy Stasiewicz, and welcome to the Minutes. Thanks for listening today. It's great to have you along on the Minutes for the week of November 24th, 2025. This is the City of Thunder Bay podcast. The Minutes takes a look at what happened at the City of Thunder Bay City Council this past week. You can find the Minutes wherever you get your podcasts, including our YouTube channel and our website, thunderbay.ca/theminutes. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. This week we had stacked standing committee meetings. 2 committees, Growth and Finance and Administration, back-to-back on the same day. We'll break down the highlights from both meetings, and later I'll be joined by Summer Stevenson, Project Manager of Housing. So let's dive in. On Monday, November 24th, the Committee of the Whole met to discuss the proposed 2026-2027 capital budget. You might be wondering, what is a capital budget? It involves the city's plan to purchase, build, maintain, repair, and replace assets, including infrastructure such as roads, vehicles, equipment, parks, sidewalks, trails, streetlights, playgrounds, and buildings. Capital budget can also include budgets for projects that span over multiple years. At the committee meeting, there were no amendments, and the capital budget will now move forward for ratification on December 2nd. The capital budget is available on the City of Thunder Bay website for residents to look over. The Growth Committee was up first on Tuesday, November 25th. Like all meetings, it began with a land acknowledgement and then right into the agenda. First up was the Smart Growth Action Plan, which is currently in the works. City administration is seeking endorsement from the Growth Standing Committee for updates to the plan. If you haven't already, we encourage you to visit the getinvolvedthunderbay.ca page to read the plan over for yourself. The city gathered feedback from hundreds of residents, and overall people are excited about Thunder Bay's potential. But they also want some clearer priorities and more ways to stay involved. Here are the biggest updates. Waterfront vision. Residents want better access and planning for the waterfront, so the plan now includes a new overall waterfront plan. Climate change. People ask for stronger climate action. The update now highlights the city's climate adaptation strategy, which adds climate considerations in infrastructure, planning, and expands references to green infrastructure. Accurate population counts. There's a new action to get a more accurate population estimate, which is important for planning and for funding for other governments. Community safety. The plan includes actions to update the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, along with several initiatives to improve perceptions of safety. Innovation in AI. There's growing interest in tech and AI. The plan now includes an action exploring how the city can strategically use AI. And finally, accountability. Residents want to track the progress. The city will launch a public dashboard so people can follow implementation. Funding for the plan will come through a mix of municipal commitment and partnerships, with an emphasis on using grants and working together. A summary was provided to the Growth Standing Committee and a deputation was submitted. The committee had a lengthy discussion about the waterfront trail. However, in the end, the Growth Committee endorsed the updated Smart Growth Action Plan, and now the plan will go to Council. There were no amendments. Next up was a presentation about the Vacant and Dilapidated Buildings program. We will be discussing this program in detail later with today's guests. However, for now, here's a quick update on the program. The city received over $2 million through the Housing Accelerator Fund to launch this program. The goal is to deal with vacant and rundown buildings that hurt neighborhood safety, property values, and economic growth, and to turn these underused sites into new housing opportunities. Right now, there are 59 known or suspected vacant buildings in Thunder Bay. Many are in poor condition, and over half are in tax debts. And together they could support over 230 new homes. The program will help the city respond faster, coordinate departments, and encourage property owners to take action. The city has already inspected most vacant buildings and found that many have safety or property standard issues. Funding from the Housing Accelerator Fund will support land procurement, public outreach, and staffing through 2027. But to deal with all 59 buildings long-term, the city will need ongoing funding and may introduce fees or other cost recovery tools. Next steps include finishing data collection this year and returning to the committee with recommendations on new financial tools. After the Growth Standing Committee meeting, the Finance and Administration Standing Committee met. First up was an update regarding the Thunder Bay Community Tennis Center. The project has a budget shortfall of about $630,000. Thunder Bay Community Tennis Center asked the city for more funding and for early release of milestone payments to complete the indoor tennis facility. City administration, however, does not recommend increasing the city's contribution or releasing payments early. Instead, if the standing committee chooses, a loan of up to $630,000 is recommended. This approach allows the project to continue while safeguarding the city's finances, but it carries risks, including repayment challenges and reduced financial flexibility. For context, the city initially approved $1.5 million for the facility, conditional on full project funding. Payments are milestone-based to protect city investment, with final release only after completion, and all obligations are met. TBCTC has been actively pursuing grants and donations to cover the shortfall. The update included a deputation which was presented by representatives from the Thunder Bay Community Tennis Center. In the end, after a lengthy discussion, the Standing Committee requested that administration come up with a financial solution, either a loan or a possible grant. The loan would be up to $650,000 from the city. Next was a report distributed to the Standing Committee relative to the 2025 audited consolidated financial statements and the trust fund statements. Administration and the auditor gave a presentation. For context, this used to be done at the Audit Committee, but the Audit Committee dissolved with the governance changes in September 2025. Finance and Administration now does this work. During the meeting, the auditor presented their findings in an open session and then in a closed session. The financial statements will go to council for final approval. The next item was a request to reallocate funds for the Building Faster Fund and Housing Accelerator Fund. Basically, the city wants permission to shift around some of its housing-related funding so it can better support two road and servicing projects. These two projects are on Burwood Road and Empire Avenue. These projects are important because they help unlock land, both city-owned and private, so new housing can be built. And the city has a big goal, 2,200 homes approved by 2031. The reallocation of funding was approved by the Standing Committee and will go to Council for final ratification. That's it for the Growth and Finance and Administration Standing Committee meetings. I will soon be joined by today's guest to talk more about some large-scale projects currently in the works. Growth is a daily discussion here at the City of Thunder Bay. Our guest today can share insight into some of the things happening in the Growth Department. We will be chatting about two different topics, the Vacant and Dilapidated Buildings Program and the Building Faster Fund and Housing Accelerator Fund. I'm joined in the Minute Studio by Summer Stevenson, Project Manager on Housing. Summer is currently working on multiple projects, including this beautiful green sweater that she's wearing today.
Oh, thank you.
So nice.
I made it myself.
I love it. So, Summer, thanks for joining us today. Let's get into the first topic, the Vacant and Dilapidated Buildings Program. So why are vacant and rundown buildings a problem for the city?
So vacant and rundown buildings and properties have a negative impact on the communities that they're in. They reduce property values, they're often a threat to public health and safety, and they're just generally pretty unsightly and impact people's ability to, feel safe and secure in their neighborhoods. So it's really important that we think about the impact of these vacant buildings and that the city manage the issues associated with these buildings as we're able.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. So how will this new funding help fix and reuse these buildings?
So this funding through the Housing Accelerator Fund, so we've received $2 million over the next 3 years to implement a program. So what that means is this funding will be used to establish a very clear framework that can be used beyond the life of the HAF. And it's about a proactive response so that we're able to catch buildings early on in their vacancy so they don't become dilapidated. So the funding is being used to support that. We will also be using the funding to remediate properties as required. So when I say remediate, it can mean a few different things. It can mean bringing that property up to compliance with our municipal bylaws. So that might be boarding up broken windows or cutting the grass, fencing if that's required. It could mean renovating the property in order to bring it back to livable condition, or it could mean demolishing the property in order to make way for further development. So in some circumstances, it'll depend which path is chosen based on a variety of factors. But the goal is that this funding will create that lasting framework and then allow us to remediate approximately 2 to 3 buildings next year and the year after.
Okay. Well, it sounds like things are moving along.
Yep.
Yeah. So what makes it challenging to deal with these vacant buildings we know about? So what are some of the key challenges?
So one of the major challenges is, the 59 buildings that have been identified. So we recognize that 59 is probably an undercount. But these are buildings that are known to city administration. These buildings are privately owned. So that means that, there are a number of layers. It is the responsibility of the owners of each of those properties to address the deficits that we see. So that's one of the biggest challenges. Another is with funding, because some folks might say, well, buy the property and do something about it. But that would cost a lot more money than $2 million. So we have to be strategic in the different tools that we use. And all of them have different timelines associated with it. So when we talk about bylaws or we talk about legislation like the Municipal Act or Building Code Act, it really becomes a bit of a puzzle in how we can respond to these buildings in a way that's both sustainable to staff. So we have the staff power to do that, and also sustainable financially, so that we're not spending $2 million to buy 3 buildings and demolish them. So that's one of the major challenges with these properties.
Okay, yeah. So obviously there's probably many phases of the plan. Can you explain briefly the different phases?
Yeah, so right now we are in phase 1. Pardon me. And phase 1 focuses on using our existing tools. So we do have 2 bylaws that deal with private property and the standards by which property should be maintained. So that's the Municipal Standards for Property Bylaw and the Vacant Building Security Bylaw. The Property Standards Bylaw was refreshed in 2022, and the Vacant Building Security Bylaw was passed in 2022. So the focus of phase 1 is implementing the Vacant Building Security Bylaw. That means creating a vacant building registry and an online complaint form so that we're better able to collect information on these properties. We are also completing exterior inspections of known vacant buildings to get a better idea of what we're working with. We found that some are in good condition, and in order to bring them back to productive use, it won't take much. It'll just be, possibly a conversation with the owners on a path forward, where some are much more deteriorated and are in poor condition. So that's the phase we're in now. The second phase will be looking at additional tools that are available to the city. So this is the, things like fines or fees. So through the bylaws, we are able to impose fees for things like inspections or property registration. But we don't at this point. We'll have to do an investigation to see whether that is an appropriate tool, whether that makes sense, in what scenarios that makes sense in, and what a fair amount would be. And then phase 3 will be the public launch of the program. So that is where we will so the registry will be fully available, the complaint form will be fully available, all the information will be available on the city's website, and we'll be completing public education campaigns and property owner education campaigns to let everybody know, this is the new program. This is what you're expected to do with this program.
So how could this program help create more housing in Thunder Bay?
So a lot of these properties, so of the 59 properties, right now they support 59 dwelling units. So that doesn't mean that each property is a single detached dwelling. It means that some are, have multiple units, others have none. These properties, when we look at the zoning and the potential for more units, the lot size, they could support over 234 units. So there's a lot of potential here to increase density in existing neighborhoods incrementally. So there's a lot of, opportunity in both the North and South Core, because we've found that the vacant and dilapidated buildings are pretty evenly mixed between the two, but a number of them are in the core areas. So that's where our focus is going to be. 8 of the properties are zoned downtown neighborhood zone, which means that there's no minimum or maximum number of units that can be placed on those properties. So that offers an amazing potential to, take these properties that may or may not be paying taxes and revitalize them and bring that vitality back into a neighborhood. That'll support in raw unit numbers, but it'll also have a number of downstream impacts, because we know that the more people we bring into existing neighborhoods, the safer that those often become.
Now we'll switch gears and talk about another project that was discussed at the standing committee meetings this week, specifically the Building Faster Fund and the Housing Accelerator Fund. So what is the Building Faster Fund, or BFF, and why is it important for building homes?
So the Building Faster Fund is a provincial initiative that was launched a few years ago, and it relates to our progress on our provincially assigned housing target. So we've been assigned a target of just over 2,000 housing starts by 2031. And each year we have an annual target that we have to meet in order to progress to that number. So last year, we exceeded our housing starts target by 143%. And as a result of that, we received $880,000 from the provincial government, recognizing the city for their efforts. This is the second year that we've been awarded funding through the Building Faster Fund. So the previous year, we were awarded just over $870,000 for meeting our target. And this will be the final year. So this is a 3-year funding program. Right now, we're about 77% of the way towards our annual target, but we have a few more reporting months left to go, and we'll see where the funding falls in the new year.
Okay. And what is the Housing Accelerator Fund, and how is it different from the Building Faster Fund?
Yeah, so the Housing Accelerator Fund is a federal initiative. So we're working with the 2 different levels of government here. And the federal program is also related to a housing target. But when we talk about the Building Faster Fund, it refers to housing starts, which means shovels are in the ground, the foundation's been poured. Where the Housing Accelerator Fund, we're looking at building permit units issued. So our Housing Accelerator Fund target is 1,755 permitted units by February 28th, 2027. And this funding through the Housing Accelerator Fund is over a 4-year period instead of the 3-year period with the province. We've received 2 of our funding disbursements. We're on track to meet our 3rd payment, which will take place in March 2026. But that final payment of $5.88 million is contingent on us meeting that target of 1,755 homes.
Wow, okay. So how do these 2 funds help cities actually build houses quickly?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we get that a lot, because the city of Thunder Bay does not build homes. But what we do is we can create the conditions by which private developers, not-for-profit organizations, and the like are able to construct homes. So the Housing Accelerator Fund has been instrumental in helping us create better conditions. You can see that through grant programs that help provide, a little bit of a monetary incentive to build certain types of housing. You can see it through strategically extending infrastructure in certain areas to open up new city lands, and also through the Surplus Lands Initiative that's been underway here at the city. So looking at, how can the municipality free up land to support our goals. So that is how the Housing Accelerator Fund has been working. So it's through those, those financial incentives, but also helping us change our frameworks and how we do things to make it easier. With the Building Faster Fund, it's the same thing, but on a smaller scale. So when we think about the annual payment of $880,000, well, we're very appreciative, and it is very helpful. It, can be used primarily for infrastructure. So it has a little bit more specific requirements associated with it and how it can be used. And what we are using it on are 3 key infrastructure projects in order to open up more of those municipal lands for housing.
Okay, wow. So what kinds of you kind of touched on this, but what kinds of projects can get these funds?
So through our grant programs, we have established programs available for folks who build housing. So we have the Affordable Rental Housing Funding Program, the Additional Dwelling Unit Program, Multi-Unit Residential, and the Construction Assistance Grant Program. All of these are in support of multi-unit housing. So the ADU, when we talk about additional dwelling unit, that's adding an additional unit in your existing home, either in a basement, addition, a backyard home. Where the others are specifically focusing on new multi-unit construction. Each have their own eligibility requirements and have been heavily subscribed. We've had a lot of interest in these programs and have committed over $11 million in funding since the start of the half period. We will be opening up one more intake in the new year for the multi-unit residential and construction assistance grants. So this will be the final push, the final year of funding available to try to get towards that 1,755 unit target.
Okay, and so where can people find that? On the website, on the city website?
Yep, buildthunderbay.ca. We have a landing page, and you'll be able to find all of the information that you need about building, planning, realty services, and the Housing Accelerator Fund.
Okay, wonderful information. And is there any other important information you want to share with our listeners today about all the many projects you have going on?
I think it's really important to stay tuned and get involved when you can, when it comes to housing. We find that there's a lot of people who are really excited for these new opportunities. They're really excited to be adding, a backyard home to support an aging relative, or for a new fourplex in their neighborhood that offers an opportunity for maybe an aging senior to move into. So it's really important that, we keep up that excitement where it is, and that we, share these good news stories where we see them. So I encourage everybody to stay tuned, to visit our Get Involved website and see what's available. And really connect with, one another in our neighborhoods and our communities, because this involves all of us. It's going to take all of us to meet these targets, builders, the city, but also neighborhoods as well.
Awesome information. Thank you so much, Summer, for all the work you're doing for our community, and thanks for taking the time to come and chat with us today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's it for this week's episode of The Minutes. A big thank you to Summer Stevenson, Project Manager of Housing, for joining us. And as always, thanks for listening. If you want more information about City Council agendas or minutes, visit thunderbay.ca/council. You can catch the minutes every week wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube or on our website at thunderbay.ca/theminutes. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, do it now. I'm Amy. Thanks again for listening to The Minutes. Have a great week.